right. Hello, everyone. My name is Jamie Lee. I'm an executive coach. I work with smart women who hate office politics, and I help them get promoted and better paid without throwing anyone under the bus. And I'm doing this interview series, interviewing some of my best clients, and asking them about their coaching journey and their coaching experience. So today, I have Kristine Johnson, who is backend engineer at Slack. And Kristine, I'd love for you to share with us, where you're joining us from. And let's start right there. Where are you joining us from?
Thanks, Jamie. I'm sitting in my living room in San Francisco, California.
Awesome.
Mhm.
Awesome. So, would you share with us what was the problem that you were having in your career prior to coaching?
Sure. It's complicated. Let's see. So when I joined Slack, I was about 5 years into my career as a software engineer, and it was difficult. It was bumpy at times, and it was the biggest company I'd ever worked for
Mhm.
at that point, um, and there was just a lot of self-imposed pressure because it was also like I had always wanted to work for the company because I'd always loved the product. It was something that I used at every single job except for my very first quote unquote big girl job. Um, so yeah, I was struggling with feeling, valued, respected, feeling like my career was stagnating. And that was a difficult place to be in. Mhm.
Yeah. And I think your story is really important because there are a lot of women in tech,
Mhm.
especially, male dominated industries.
Mhm.
And when we're the minority, it can be so easy to feel demoralized, right?
Mhm.
Lacking in self-confidence. And so I'm curious, what was it like for you before you got coaching
Mhm.
to try to solve this confidence problem on your own?
Mhm. Sure. Um, well, self-confidence is actually something that I've struggled with for most of my life. So I was a bit at a loss. I had worked with other coaches in the past, but it didn't, and I appreciated their support, but it felt like they were more like workplace therapists, and it felt like a lack of like tangible results. Like it was good to have somebody to listen to me,
Mm-hmm.
to talk about my problems, but it was hard to get like a plan of action, or somebody trying to really help me develop that confidence in a way. It's hard to to explain, but yeah, and it was really frustrating, and for me, as I know is the case for lots of other women, when something is a challenge, it's hard to not internalize it. And so I felt very inadequate, and like something was wrong with me, and of course that becomes like a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? And you enter this sort of negative cycle, and yeah, and I just knew I had to do something different.
Mm, yeah.
Mhm.
And I just want to add, it's so normal for women to internalize this because we've been socialized to think that somehow, we're supposed to take care of other people, but we're not,
Mhm.
right? And
Mhm.
so you're not alone in feeling that it's hard to not internalize that. Um, and I'm curious, you said you've worked with workplace coaches. So were they coaches assigned to you or coaches, who were hired by your employer?
We have one of our benefits is like professional development funds, and
Mhm.
some people buy books. I've done that, and you can also use them to purchase coaching sessions. So I had seen two coaches that I found on my own through like recommendations from others at work, and then one coach was provided by like a workplace program that involved like mentoring and helping people out from underrepresented minorities in tech. Um, yeah, and he was great for other reasons, like just a really like providing like very solid emotional support. But I guess the general pattern is with previous coaches, they seemed more focused on just like my life and like making lifestyle changes, and just sort of they felt more like life coaches than they did like, you know, career coaches.
I
um
see.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And so, how was coaching with me different as a solution to your specific problem?
um well, I'm happy to report that, you know, like I've gotten good feedback from my manager, and you know, I'm on track for a promotion. So that's really good. Um, and I feel a lot more valued, a lot more respected, and that really began with myself, right? I think we've talked about this, and the analogy that we came up with is like, well, you know, it's like people, when people see nobody eating in a restaurant, they're less likely to go there than, you know, a restaurant. They see other people eating. And so you have to be that person dining in at your own restaurant for yourself. Um, yeah,
Customer number one. You have
that's
to be
right.
your
Oh,
own
that's,
customer number one.
oh, I like that. I like that. That's good. So yeah, uh, and I feel like tangible results, like, you know, I think, like I'm just able to feel better about myself, and I didn't have to like, obviously I did a lot of work, you know, but I didn't have to fundamentally change who I am, which I appreciate. And if anything, I guess like the key to, you know, like my thriving now at my current workplace is that I just stopped caring so much about what other people thought, and I just focused on myself and doing and working my way instead of trying to, you know, do what I thought would make me successful based on others' experiences, right? Because they're not me. And I was making myself like pretty miserable like that, because I'm never going to be like, you know, this person or that person.
And
And
I
that's
want to
okay.
add, yeah,
Yeah.
and I want to add that you also recognize that you're already doing the right things. So
Hmm.
you know, I think as your coach, what I see is that you learn to give yourself credit for the work you're already doing. Like you didn't have to go out and do a whole bunch more. You're like, I'm already kicking ass.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Just, you know, recognizing, yeah, I value quality. I put out quality work, and that's important because correctness is important in software engineering. Haha.
Hmm.
Mhm, mhm.
Love it. And so describe the moment you realized coaching was working for you. What was that moment? What was that like for you?
Mhm. So it was very early on, and it was in our third session, and we had talked about a conversation I had with my manager, and, you know, how it made me feel. And, you know, your you introduced your framework for modeling like scenarios like this.
Mhm.
And so, you know, just distilling it down and taking like the emotional charge out of it. Like, he said words. Okay, well, that's a fact. He said words, and, you know, opinions are not facts. So let's like discard that, and then, you know, focusing on how it made me feel. And I could see from like a mile away, you know, you're like, okay, so if you were a Disney princess in this situation, who would you be? You know, and I was like, this is okay, okay. And then, you know, I picked Cinderella, even though like honestly, I think she's like one of the lamest Disney princesses. Like I do like how she can communicate with animals, but she's just Cinderella's a boring story anyway. But yeah, like, you know, how I felt about it. And I was like, okay, you know, I know where this is going. It's like, you know, like I have to like internally like act like, you know, I do feel respected and valued, you know, and that will, you know, kind of come true in a way. Um, but, you know, once we actually walked through it,
Yeah.
I could like really internalize the truisms, which I thought was really helpful because again, sometimes in the past, like getting advice from others, it's just like, I know that everybody says that, I get it,
Yeah.
but I didn't really get it.
So what
So
do you think it was that you got? Because for some people, like watching this or listening to this, we're like, "What?
mhm,
Cinderella came up? What do they do? What do they talk about in these coaching sessions?" They might be like mystified. So
mhm,
maybe
mhm.
we could like break it down for them. So what do you think was the truism that you got from like seeing yourself as Cinderella in that
Mhm.
specific situation?
Um, what I got out of seeing, well, it it helped put some perspective, right? Like I could
Mm,
see what what I really thought of the situation and how it was making me feel, right?
yeah.
And taking that and separating it from just the facts of the situation, right? There was this mental leap from things happening to me just, like becoming like involved in that particular kind of narrative.
Mhm.
Um, so being able to like put some distance between me and my feelings,
Yeah.
I think was what was key there.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And then what became possible for you because you gained perspective and you were able
Hmm.
to distinguish between how you were seeing yourself and the
Hmm.
emotion that it was creating for you?
Um, well, I guess I had a little bit of internal resistance because it's like, well, then my feelings aren't important, but that's not the case, right? Like I can
Right. No, your
see them,
feelings are very important.
yeah, they're
Yes.
valid and I can acknowledge them. But
Yes.
then that perspective allows me to like take little, like a closer look at the steps, the little hops that happen mentally,
Mhm.
um, and see like, okay, so what is this triggering for me?
Yeah.
Let's look into that. And then being able to, I guess, better manage myself and not, I don't want to say just not letting things trigger me as much because, like I still get bothered by things sometimes and everybody has their things.
Yeah.
Um, but that what other people say about me says a lot more about them than it does me. And that
Yes.
means that there's less power in their opinions and words. And and I can just hear them and acknowledge them, and I can feel bad, like I'm going to react, I'm only human.
Yeah.
um
But
but
you get
not
that
letting
power
that.
back.
Yes, yes.
You get that power back because then you don't give as much power to those people and their
Hmm.
words, which you
Hmm.
really don't have any control over.
Yep.
So now you have a little bit more bandwidth available to yourself.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Is there
Hmm.
anything else there that,
Thinking, yeah, better looking at how, why I felt the way I felt about certain things, unpacking that, and yeah, the freeing of mental and emotional energy because, and it's not even necessarily like a fact that, so and so might have felt this way about me. It's just a fact that they said something, right? And there are other possible interpretations because I'm bringing my own stuff to the
Mhm.
interpretation of it. And reality, the workplace is kind of a social construct in the first place.
Yes, it
Uh-huh.
totally is. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
In fact, office
um
politics itself is really just an opinion. But
mhm,
for those of us who are watching this and listening to this for the first time, they're like, "What?" Okay, so then how does that connect to you getting on the track to promotion? So
mhm,
would you mind walking us towards that? Like, how does opening your perspective,
mhm,
right, lead
mhm.
you to getting on the promotion track?
Sure. Yeah, I think the key was really like being able to look at things more neutrally, which means, like with less emotional charge. And if I'm not feeling as charged about things, then I'm not expending as much energy, like feeling things that get in the way of me doing my work or getting caught up in like certain narratives, right? And I just make that not my concern, and then I can actually focus on the stuff that I want to focus on, and I can do my
Yes.
work, and I can do it, well in my own way.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then what? And then how does that impact the conversations you have about your
Mhm,
career development?
mhm, mhm. Well, when you are more confident in yourself, others, pick up on that, and they will be more confident in you. And it is a sort of it is a bit like, fake it till you make it, which I've heard, from like early like managers, really early supportive managers. And it's like, well, nobody's perfectly confident. You just have to kind of practice and get better at it, and it's like,
Yes.
this doesn't feel authentic. I don't know about that, because I did basically equate myself with my feelings, right? But now recognizing, like, what is it? Prefrontal cortex. There's the adult brain, right? And I feelings are valid, thoughts are valid, but not necessarily true in all cases. Anyway, I think I got off on a tangent here.
No, no, no. I think
Uh,
you're right on point. Like you recognize your feelings are temporary.
mhm.
They're not your identity.
Yeah, they're not your
Yeah.
core self.
Right.
Um, and if you let them be, you are in for a bumpy ride. And I
Mhm.
had been doing that for all of my life, and and it wasn't making me happy, and it wasn't getting me the things that I wanted in my life, and
Mhm.
I know I needed to change. So,
Okay. Yeah. And so then you had more confidence. They had more confidence in you because they saw
mhm,
it in you.
mhm,
And so
mhm.
then did you ask for promotion?
um I I'd just been I'd been bringing it up like for
Yeah.
a long time. So
Yeah.
yes, and I made it very clear that that is the thing that I want the most, like right now, in terms of my career there. And yeah, and it finally got the news like, okay, think you're ready. You have lots of great work under your belt, the past 2 quarters, like keep it up. Um, so yeah, that that was big. That was big.
Awesome. And so how is your career different now that
Mhm.
you've been working and
Mhm.
solving your self-confidence from the inside out?
Mhm. Um, well, I think my life is just a little bit better overall, honestly.
Mhm.
And that, that spills over into my career. I feel more free to be myself, not worry so much about what others think, and all of the anxiety that comes with that. Like, I'm still an anxious person, but it's one less thing to worry about. And just believing in myself, like really believing, like, I am smart, I'm capable, I do good work, like, I'm here for a reason. And yeah, and I don't have to change who I am, or
Mhm.
behave a certain way, or become somebody else's idea of what an engineer should look like, and how they should act, and how they should work.
Right. Right.
Hmm.
Because who you are
Is enough.
is enough.
Hmm.
Yes. Who you are
Hmm.
is enough.
Hmm.
Love it. So, I think women out there who are uh, women of color, minorities, working in tech or working in male dominated industries would find your story really inspiring. Is there any tips or advice or any final word that you want to, share
Oh
with them?
dear. um it's like, miss 100% of the shots you don't take, but I'd like to phrase that in a better way.
Okay.
Let me think. Hmm.
But what does that mean for you?
It means even when you aren't 100% confident in something, it's it's worth trying, right? Like, what's the worst that's going to happen, right? It's rejection, and rejection sucks. Don't get me wrong, I hate it too. But you know, like trying out for like this thing, or you know, taking on this project, you know, just do your best. That's all you can do. Maybe that's, yeah, not quite the same thing, but oh no, it's like what we were talking about earlier today.
Yeah.
Like what you do is enough.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm still working on fully internalizing that, but I think it's a good place to start. What you do is
Yeah.
enough, and
Yeah.
you, it's like things are not easy all the time, but you can do it,
Yeah.
or at least try, because
Yes.
my high school maxim, it's like, don't live with regrets.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Totally. Yes, it is hard,
Hmm.
but doesn't mean that you're doing it wrong, right? It's yes,
No,
it is
no.
hard. Doesn't mean that you're not doing enough.
Hmm. Hmm.
If anything, it means you are doing enough. You're doing your best, and keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody's journey is different, so
Yeah.
yeah.
I really want to acknowledge you for being so gracious with your time, and I know this journey has not been always smooth. It's definitely not been easy, but
Hmm.
I really want to acknowledge your tenacity.
Thank you. Thank you. Hmm.
Yeah. And like, I don't think you have, we're going to work on this, but I don't think you know how strong you really are.
Well, you know, I started weight training a couple years ago, and then I got a good sense of that. But thank you, Jamie. Yeah, it's been
Yeah.
great working with you, and yeah, you've really helped me. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome so much. Thank you so much. All right.